the words hunting mature whitetails comes out of your mouth, it's like a deer's ears perk up. They start turning and looking. That's what I feel like right now.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's one of my favorite times of the year. It's all about hunting mature whitetails. It is deer season, and folks are excited about it, and I'm excited to talk about it. So, Matt, Cameron.
Man, you know anybody that's just a good deer hunter, man, I want to do a deer hunting video. You need to talk to Jimmy Kyle. Okay, if you need any verification that he knows what he's doing, walk in his living room, look at the man's wall of fame, and you'll know that he's a dang good deer hunter. And I've killed a lot of deer in my life, but very few what I would call a nice deer. But Jimmy Kyle, he's able to consistently go to the woods and kill nice, mature buck deer. And that don't come by happenstance. You said you're not born with that ability. He's had to learn. We're just tickled to have you on here. We want to learn from you without divulging too many secret places or techniques or whatever. We want to learn today, how can folks get better at patterning these better bucks, and how can they go out to the woods and maybe have a good chance at killing one?
Yeah, I think by the end of this, you'll realize what blood, sweat, and tears have gone in. You know, the facts that we're about to share, we're going to cover it all today, so I'm looking forward to it. So, what are you looking for when you start hunting those big whitetail?
A big whitetail gets big because he's old, and you have to hunt where they can get old. I mean, that's just number one rule of killing a big buck, is you've got to be where a big buck lives. That's plain and simple.
Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest info about hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. This year, we celebrate the men and women of the TWRA responsible for 75 years of wildlife conservation. Now make welcome your host, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, for listening. We got a great show lined up for you today. It's all about hunting mature whitetails. It is deer season, and folks are excited about it, and I'm excited to talk about it. So Matt Cameron's helping me co-host. He's lined up a few shows here in Morristown, and happy to be here.
When the words hunting mature whitetails comes out of your mouth, it's like a deer's ears perk up and they start turning and looking. That's what I feel like right now.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's one of my favorite times of the year. It's football in the air, deer season's happening, and it's just a fun time to be outside. So
you're dang right.
Got a great conversation today with Mr. Jimmy Kyle Clark. Thank you for being here, buddy.
Glad to be here.
Excited to talk about getting outside and all that fun stuff with a guy who knows how to do it well. I've seen a few interviews with him. You visited with him for a drop the tailgate and talked about some hunting.
And a few years ago.
So
now
I'll recap some of that, catch up on what we've missed since then, and just have a good conversation. But first of all, let's dive in and just learn a little bit about you, your background. I'd love to hear about what you do for a day job and just how you got introduced to the outdoors.
All right. Well, right now I'm a construction teacher at Morristown West High, and this will be my second year. They brought that program back, and I absolutely love it. It makes me feel good to teach a kid something that he needs, to get him in a job somewhere. So I'm really having fun with that. When I could start remembering. When I was a kid, young as I can remember back, I'd want to go out and see what Dad had killed when he come home, drop the tailgate, look at those horns lay there, and I'd probably shoot them with BB guns out in the yard. And finally got to go, I think I started bow hunting when I was 9. The very first morning I ever sat in the woods, I had 3 different 8-pointers come up on me. I missed 3 times. You talking about buck fever? Sun come up that morning. There's a big one standing there with the sun behind him, like, oh my gosh, it's South Buckmaster's magazine. So I was hooked right then. That very first morning I ever hunted. But I've been doing it since, and I live it, breathe it. That's all I want to talk about.
I love how you started that. Ever since I started remembering, I was hunting.
Yeah, as far as I can remember.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that's cool. As soon as you could start getting out there, you were doing it.
Yeah,
that's very cool. And it's great that you had a mentor to help you. Your dad going and have somebody to kind of help lead the way a little bit too.
He made me a priority. When I started hunting, it was all about me. So. I can't thank him enough for that.
Yeah, he taught you well.
Yeah, we learned a lot together. I mean, we put the blood, sweat, and tears in it for a long time, and when everything finally started clicking, we done pretty good with it.
And that's what drew me to you in the first place was making those videos at the time to drop the tailgates and talk to Nathan Ripley, who's a Hamlin County wildlife officer forever, is a sergeant now, and said, man, you know anybody that's just a good deer hunter, man? I want to do a deer hunt video, and a split second out of his mouth came, you need to talk to Jimmy Kyle.
Yeah.
And so, okay, put me in touch. So hollered at Jimmy, went to his house, walk in his living room, and if you needed any kind of verification or validation that he knows what he's doing, you look at the man's wall of fame, and you'll know that he's a dang good deer hunter. And, you know, I've killed a lot of deer in my life, but very few what I would call a nice deer. But Jimmy Kyle, he's very humble, but he's able to consistently go to the woods and kill nice, mature buck deer. And that don't come by happenstance. It's not, like you said, you're not born with that ability. He's had to learn a lot of this and apply it, and he puts the work and the time in to being able to do this on a consistent basis. So we're just tickled to have you on here. We want to learn from you without divulging too many secret places or techniques or whatever. We want to learn today, how can folks get better at patterning these better bucks, and how can they go out to the woods and maybe have a good chance at killing one?
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned blood, sweat, and tears, and I think by the end of this, you'll realize what blood, sweat, and tears have gone in. You know, the facts that we're about to share today, and like I said, this can be applied just about anywhere.
Right.
It's not just the piece of properties that he's hunting, and
correct.
You know, this is something that you can apply on your property, on public land, etc. We're going to cover it all today, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, good.
So let's just start from the top. When you are looking for a piece of property, what are you looking for? Or for an area, what are you looking for when you start hunting this big whitetail?
A big whitetail gets big because he's old, and you have to hunt where they can get old. I mean, that's just number one rule of killing a big buck is you've got to be where a big buck lives. That's plain and simple. Mm-hmm. So I want an area at least got some kind of sanctuary around it. Maybe it ain't where I'm hunting, but somewhere close. There's got to be no hunting, 2 or 3 farms stacked up where people don't let, anybody hunt, or a clear cut where it's impossible to get through. Something's got to hold a big buck around where I want to be hunting at. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and those spots, they learn. Those deer learn, like you said, if you got these pieces of property that are connected and nobody hunts them, those deer learn that that's their...
Oh, yeah.
That's their sanctuary.
Right.
It may not be a thicket or something that's just hard to get to. It could just be an area they know, I'm safe here.
Exactly. If you got 500 acres on a road that gets hammered hunting, and you got somebody that's got 25 acres that nobody ever walks on, you better believe that big buck's going to live on that 25 acres.
So you're looking for a spot near that.
Yes. As close as I can be to somewhere they can live and get old.
And how you... And how you find these spots is your scouting and your methods for that. And that's, and we've talked here before the show, we're trying to make sure we cover it all here, but it doesn't start when the deer season starts, does it?
No, it's 365. I hunt every day of the year, whether I'm looking at maps or talking about it with my buddies, watching podcasts. It's never ending, When I've got a free minute to do something, or while I'm working on a project, I've usually got earbuds in listening to something. And I'm all about learning about it, so I don't think you can ever stop learning, or you'll never figure it all out. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
You got to be open-minded about it.
So I got when do you scout and how do you scout? So let's start there. So when do you start and how do you go about it?
Most of my, 90% of my scouting, I probably do in February and March before the leaves come on.
Well, we've missed the mark.
Yeah.
We're a little bit late this year, Jason. Is that because the sign's more evident?
Yeah, I go by that past year's sign a lot. If he's a big buck, he's going to have big buck rubs, or he's going to have monster scrapes in there. So that's what I look for. Deer you scrape all year. So after season, if you find some big scrapes and there's a footprint in it, it's got a pad that big, that deer's probably alive. That's a good indicator he's alive. Always looking for sheds. Find those fresh sheds, he's made it. I still run trail cameras all through until they start growing back. Stuff like that. Now, I do it in the spring too because I feel like I can walk anywhere in the springtime or early spring before the leaves come on. Winter, I guess it's winter, but I'm not messing that deer up. I'm not running him out of his home area. You know, I get to look at everything then. That's something, you know, once the leaves get on, that deer starts feeling comfortable in his summer place. I don't want to be in there tromping around running him out.
Okay.
You know, I want to get all my stuff done before the leaves get on.
Okay.
So that's right after the season. I mean, that's right after you've been hunting all year.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a good time to still be hard at it. You know,
Oh, yeah.
The hunt doesn't end when the season closes.
I put my bow up and my hiking boots come out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the next weekend. I'm in there walking around. Yeah.
That's cool. That's good to know. That makes sense too. I mean, like you said, it's easier to see, the sign's still there.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's say you get a target buck. What's always been interesting to me is how do you figure out where his bed is and how do you get pictures of him and not make him feel uncomfortable in his bed?
That's important. Like, the last thing you want to do is let that deer know you're hunting him. So I don't hunt a lot of bedding areas. That's a lot of pressure you put on a deer if you try sneaking his bedding area. I say I don't. Like, I will. If it's coming down to the end of the season or something, I might get a little more aggressive. But I like to let that deer mess up. You know, I try to sit back and let the deer mess up instead of me mess up. Because when you bump him, he's done. He's either going nocturnal or you're going to run him out somewhere else. So, but yeah, I say, you know, I do a lot of watching fields in the summertime. I see where he comes from. Should have a pretty good eye. If you know the area, you should have a pretty good idea where he stays, where he spends his time. A general idea. I don't think a buck goes to the same bed. Like, I listened to some research on that, and they have several beds they use. And I'm sure a lot of that's to do with the wind direction or whatever's going on that day, you know, their food location they got. But they use several beds, so, but he'll still be in a general area, you know. I don't know the exact acreage. I've seen some research, but like 300-acre circle or so. Some of those GPS collars. That big buck will always stay in that 300-acre, and then he might venture over here to this little 300-acre circle after summertime. But you just got to have that idea, you know. That's where that scouting comes in early. See where his sign was at.
Along the lines of those beds, if you're hunting a pretty mountainous area, would you think that they changed the side of the hill or that they feel more comfortable on depending on the weather and things like that?
Wind direction, stuff like that. Yeah, definitely.
Have you ever been the type? Before, I think you said you want to hunt mature bucks in the afternoon. You prefer to hunt them later.
I love it. Yeah, I am an afternoon hunter. And I've killed a lot of, like, half of mine's probably been killed in the morning times, but I think there's more luck involved with them chasing the doe or something. But I feel like if I'm setting up in the evenings, I'm hunting at deer's belly, you know, trying to find the food source he's coming to. Maybe the does are coming there and he's going to follow them, but I have more confidence in the evening.
And I think that's important because I bet a buck in general probably goes to bed before the sun's coming up.
A lot of them will.
So it's going to be awful hard to beat him back to where he's headed to without bumping him in the morning time, correct?
And it's dark. You're walking in. You can't see what's going on. How many times have you walked in and you hear one blow and run off?
Too many.
Smoke. It's over with. Yeah. And I hate that. So, like, some guys don't agree with this, but I wait till it gets daylight before I walk in the mornings. I let it break day enough where I can see. 2 of the biggest bucks I've ever killed, I had to lay down in the field because I seen them walking in. I laid down, waited on them to get out of the way, and ended up killing them that morning. So, like, if I'd have went on in there in the dark, I'd have busted those. Yeah.
Could tell you how many times I've done that and kicked myself, and so I need to get here earlier next time. But I don't know that there's an early enough without getting out there
Yeah,
2 hours before the sun.
yeah,
comes
they
up.
might be. They might be that magical 2.5 hours before daylight. But I'd be asleep if
Yeah.
and miss the whole morning hunt if I done that. So
I heard you say you like to sleep in, go eat a biscuit, and then go to the
Yeah.
woods late
yeah, I
morning,
do.
early afternoon.
I mean, I don't miss me hunts in the morning during the rut, but if it's not the rut, it's rare that I hunt in the morning.
That's good.
If I think I know where that deer's at. Now, I'll hunt and watch, observe, scout in the mornings, by sitting in a tree watching, but I'd rather be there in the evening, no doubt.
Very cool. All right. Let's stay on these same lines, I guess, with scouting or hunting, but scent control. What's your thoughts on scent control and how you control that when you're out there scouting and whatnot?
I love my scent control, and I'll probably go overboard with it. All year long, I wash my clothes in non-scent detergent. I use non-scented deodorant all year long. I use non-scented shampoo. It's just, no matter what you do, though, you still got to have the wind and the thermals right. Like, you can go scent control to the fullest extent, but it don't mean that he can't smell you.
Yeah.
They're that good.
Mm-hmm.
You can't beat a deer's nose. But, I think scent control is important. Like, getting to your truck, to the stand, how you walk in, what you rub up against. You're leaving a trail wherever you're going, a scent trail. So the more careful you are with how you do your scent control, I think you're better off, not letting that deer smell, where you've rubbed up against that bush or something. I think that comes into play more than people think about.
Certainly for me, I always thought about it while I was hunting and worried about the wind direction of my scent based on which direction I expected the deer to come from. But walking to my hunting location, for most of my hunting career, I never really thought about, am I blowing scent in the wrong direction while I'm walking in?
Yeah. Your entrance and exit is a whole lot of it. I've walked 1.5 miles to get to my stand when it wasn't 400 yards from the truck. But I had to, just the way the wind was blowing or where I thought that deer was at, And I look like a weirdo walking through the woods. I'll be stepping over branches and ducking under limbs and look like a football player in slow motion, just juking through the limbs, not trying to rub up against anything. Because, that's so important.
When you think about a deer's nose, like if a buck deer can run through the woods and follow one specific deer that he's after while he's running and she's way ahead of him, you ain't going to beat his nose.
No, and I promise you rub up against a big limb, it's got scent all over it now, so he can tell that, even your trail, I've been so careful, and like walking through a field, I would never walk the wood line because a lot of deer use the wood line. Them big bucks love walking a wood line on the field edge, checking scrapes. I always stay about 30 or 40 yards out, and even then, with rubber boots on and being careful as I can, I've watched deer just bust me right there in that trail. You can't beat them, but you can do a lot to
minimize
it. Yes,
that's what I always thought about it. And staying on the lines of scout, and man, these things right here have revolutionized what you're able to see before you even set foot out there. So help us out with scouting from the phone or the computer.
Yeah, I use that Hunt Stand app. It's pretty good. It's got a lot of different topo maps on it and stuff, and everywhere I hunt, I want to know how the land lays for my setups because, going back to scent control, your thermals and stuff. Anytime I'm scouting, I think I'll find a good spot. I'm looking at where my thermals are going to go and where my scent might go, If I can, every spot you find, you're not going to be able to hunt. Like, I've got a spot right now I'm running a camera in, and I don't think I can hunt it. And, they're there, but just the way it's shaped like a bow, I don't know if I'll ever be able to get in there and hunt without them busting me. So
what's plan B in a situation like that?
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to hunt it in the morning. Definitely no evening hunt
Because it's all traveling downhill.
Yeah, but golly, it's in the right spot. I'm dying to get in there and hunt, but I'm gonna have to be really careful about it.
Well, we've circled thermals on our interview sheet here for a reason, because it's often overlooked but vital to the success in hunting, specifically large, big, mature white buck-tailed deer. So
Yeah.
explain what a thermal is to people who don't know, and then you explain how thermals work to us earlier in a way that really I don't think anybody can understand.
Yeah. First off, I guess it's the heating and cooling of air. Like when air heats up, it rises. When air cools down, it lowers. And you know, in the morning time, you can get away with murder. A lot of people that that might not watch their scent good, they can kill big deer in the mornings, because when that sun comes up, everything's heating up. If it's cold enough to see your breath, it's always just going straight up there, or your little wind checker. So you can get away a lot more in the mornings. But evening time, and how I explained to you, I heard this, my buddy told me this, and it makes more sense than anything. If you got a tree you want to hunt in, just imagine dumping 1 million gallons of water out right there out of a bucket. Where's that water going to go? And that's probably where your scent's going to go, more than likely. And we was talking about a hunt that I'd set up in the top of a field just to watch, really. I had my bow with me, but I was just watching that evening to get an idea of what was there. I had an east wind. It was hitting me right in the face that evening. Well, deer walks out to my south. He busts me. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm checking the wind, I'm like, how'd he do that? So 30 minutes later, another one blows, and I look, and there's a big buck this time down at the creek, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's got my thermal. And right then, that moment, I'm like, these thermals are stronger than this wind. So I never, any evening hunt, you need to be below where the deer's going to come out. I switched the next evening, ended up shooting a 12-pointer. He never knew I was in the world. That my scent was going straight down the creek bed that I was sitting on.
How close did he come?
I shot him at 40.
40 yards?
Yeah.
You just got on the right side of the thermal there?
Yeah. He would have busted me if I'd sit in the same place, because he's right where that other deer busted me the evening before. But that creek, like I was telling you, that evening I had like 6 or 7 deer just walk all over me, and me checking my scent and it just flowing right in that creek. They never had a chance. I was on the ground that evening. I wasn't even in a tree.
That blew my mind too. You were telling us earlier. How many nice deer have you killed off the ground with a bow?
Golly, I was telling you, I think 4 of my last 5 I've killed off the ground with a bow.
And how many inches wise you talking about? These deer you're killing?
The last 2 I killed was in the high 130s with a bow. Then I had one that was pushing 150. Then a 10-pointer right at 130.
Great deer by any
good deer
standards, especially from the ground with a bow.
Especially off the ground.
That's impressive.
Yeah. I got on my list here to talk about stands, and that doesn't always mean a ladder stand or a climbing stand. It could be your spot, your stand on the ground. I mean, this is my stand. I like this stand of woods or this stand of timber that I hide in or whatever. It doesn't have to be up in a stand. But
no, that's right.
But with thermals in play, you got to think about your approach and moving around and being mobile. And so, is it a ground blind? Is it a elevated blind? Is it a mobile saddle? Do you use them all?
I use them all.
Touched on all some of that.
Like I got stands, saddles. I'll hunt behind a tree. It don't matter. Like that evening, there was a bunch of honeysuckles that just made almost like a teepee on the edge of a field. And I just got by, like I cleared me out a little spot and leaves stood behind the honeysuckles. I had deer for me to eat that evening.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea I was there. But I was sitting on the edge of that creek, and my thermal was going down that creek. You talking about getting close. We was close that evening. But, I'm not scared to hunt on the ground. And a lot of places I hunt has been neglected for so long, the field edges. You can't get in a tree stand. It's just hung over overgrowth. And you might have to hunt 30 yards off a field to get a shot in the field if you're in a tree. But if I got a tree that's fell over and I got some limbs to hide behind, I mean, it's not easy.
Yeah.
But you can do it, If you got enough cover and your wind's right, you can pull it off. You just got to be really careful.
Well, it's important to, I guess especially for the ground blinds, it's easy. But when you're hanging stands, do you hang multiple? kind of have in position and ready to go, or
I do.
Okay, yeah. You don't, and you leave them there all year round. Don't disturb, I guess, and that kind of thing.
Like last week, I hung my stand, and I hung a stand for a spot that I know I'm not going to till Thanksgiving.
But it's already there.
But it's there. It's ready. Yeah,
That's
and I do that a lot.
Disturb that area,
right?
In the prime.
I don't have to go back in no more.
When the time is right,
and trail camera history last year after Thanksgiving, that place blew up with deer. They were pressured. They went in there. If it plays out like it did last year, it should be good when I get there. You know, who knows? It might not be, but if trail camera history is right, it should be pretty good.
And you said something too before we started that you don't hunt a lot. You spend way more time scouting than you actually do hunting.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite, and that's probably why I ain't that successful at it. I spend too much time out there trying to get after because I'm obsessed. I think I got to go. Tell us why that is actually an advantage to hunt less.
Well, like the best time to hunt's when you can. If you can't hunt a lot, if you got a job, get in the woods. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But if you got the choices, if you got a cold front coming in, say you got 5 free days, first 3 days are hot weather, don't go in there and hunt, stink up your spot, sweat. Wait till that cold front gets there on day 4 and hunt day 4 and 5. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody wants to be out in the woods. Maybe you can hunt, but don't hunt your best places.
Gotcha.
You know, when those cold fronts come in, the barometric pressure's right, everything's perfect, that's when you want to get in your good spots. Yeah. So I'm not against hunting a lot, but I don't want to be in my best places a lot. I want to be in there as little as possible. And a lot of the deer I've killed first set. Second set. Usually I don't make it to the 3rd or 4th set. 2 times in is about as much as I'll go, and then I'll go somewhere else. Because they catch on pretty quick. They're smart.
Yeah.
I work for a living in construction, teaching construction. They work for a living trying to survive.
Hey,
you know, they're good at it.
And if you make a mistake, the deer lives another day. If he makes a mistake, he dies.
He's dead. Yeah, it's over.
It's that important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not only do you love to do it, but you love to share it. You love to share the passion that you're here with us today. But then you mentor young kids. You got kids of your own that you take and friends, kids. You know, share a little bit of that before we run out of time here.
Yeah. My daughter's been sitting with me some last year. I love it. You know, we've not harvested anything together, but she's there with me, and we get to watch them and stuff, and it's pretty neat. And I've got one of my best friend's daughter, Hannah, started shooting a bow 3 years ago. Just out of the blue, you know, she picked it up, and within like 20 minutes, I called her dad. I was like, you might want to come over here and watch her do this. She was hanging out with us for the day, and like, she's a natural. I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to be so good. So within a week, we've got her a compound. She's shooting bullet holes. I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl's it, you know. Goes on her first juvenile. I get to take her. We go to Kentucky on a juvenile hunt. First day, she kills 8-pointer. That started it. She's hooked. Later that year, she just picked up a bow in July. At Thanksgiving, she kills one of the bows. We roll around to the next year, she kills a big 10-pointer on juvenile hunt. I've got a picture of it I sent you. But before she killed that 10-pointer, she killed an 8-pointer on juvenile hunt in Tennessee, goes to Kentucky, kills a big 10. Then the next juvenile hunt in Tennessee, she kills another big 8-pointer.
Wow.
And then last year, she killed another 8-pointer and a 10-pointer. Here, local. So
She's already outdone me.
Yeah.
Like, she's already got a wall that started that's unreal
Heck yeah.
for a 15-year-old girl, and I love it.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And all because you helped share that passion and teaching.
Oh, yeah.
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 That's cool. I love it that you're out there doing that. That's very cool, and just appreciate you being here with us today and sharing with us.
Yeah.
Sharing with everybody that's listening. You know.
Yeah.
Just a little bit to help them get out there and be successful.
Yeah.
Amen. Jimmy Kyle, thank you, brother.
Hey, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you having me on here today, man.
I enjoy it.
Yeah. This is Tennessee WildCast, and keep coming back, keep watching, keep listening, keep sharing this with others, and go hunting. We'll see you next time.
Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. Join us as we celebrate 75 years of conservation in our great state. You can invest in Tennessee's wildlife future by purchasing a license at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com. That's GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.